Hello everyone, I'm Hannibal with the AmCon Kentucky medical team, here to bring you a video on chest seals and chest injuries. Forgive me a little bit, I'm going to read from my notes a bit because I do tend to get long-winded, and I'm going to try to avoid that by sticking to the script, so bear with me. I want to talk to you today about chest seals. If someone suffers a penetrating injury to the chest, and I've heard it described as anything from the chin to the belly button, but I don't like that because it kind of includes the throat. So let's say from the chest to the belly button. Any wound there could penetrate the chest cavity. What they run a risk of is developing what's called a tension pneumothorax. And I swear that's the last medical term I'm going to use today. Bear with me, I'm going to stick to plain English, but that's what it's called. And what it is a condition where if you have a bullet wound and you have air entering the chest, the air can build up between the lung and the chest wall. And that pushes in on the lung and can cause the lung to collapse. It can go worse than that with a tension pneumothorax. That's a pneumothorax. A tension pneumothorax is it gets so much that actually the lung will push over and the trachea will deviate to the side. Sorry, I did say trachea, sorry. And it will actually push on the heart and on the other lung. It can make breathing very difficult or allow you not to get enough oxygen to oxygenate your blood. It can actually press on the heart and cause circulation issues and ultimately death. And so sealing that hole is of utmost importance. Typically with a chest wound like that, you're not going to see a ton of blood pouring out, depending on where it hits. There are vascular organs in there, obviously, if you hit the heart, but that's a whole different issue. But penetrate the lung, you generally don't have a lot of blood. And you don't want to pack a lung wound. Any kind of chest wound or abdominal wound, you don't pack. Packing is for the extremities. Because the idea of packing is you're pushing in against a big muscle. And you're packing that wound, and that packing is pushing against the muscle or the bone, and it's squeezing that artery down, stopping that blood. You don't have that in the chest. If you start packing a chest wound, what you're going to do is shove a whole lot of packing in there, and all you're doing is pushing the lungs. Same thing with the abdominal cavity. You've got your intestines, your bowel, all your guts, and they're full of air. And I've worked with some guys that really are full of air. And when you pack and pack and pack, all you're doing is pushing those around, packing them. You're not doing anything. So chest wounds, you don't pack. Chest wounds, you seal. And that's what you use a chest seal for. There are commercial chest seals out there. They're great. If you have them, use them by all means. There's one manufacturer called the Hyphen. I believe it's North American Rescue makes it. There's a few different types. They're all basically the same thing. It's a big piece of sticky material that you put over the chest and it blocks it. A basic chest seal is what we refer to as a non-vented chest seal. It just literally closes off the hole. Doesn't let air in, doesn't let air out. If you're using one of those and you cover it up, there may be some other air leaking in from other areas. You know, if they have a hole in the lung and they're breathing, you may have air leaking out of the lung and getting in between the chest cavity and the chest wall in the lung. And so even with that, you can have them start to have respiratory distress. If you see them, if you have a chest seal on, you see them starting to struggle to breathe, you burp the chest seal. You just take the corner of it, peel it back a little bit, let some of that air escape, and then put the seal back down again. Most of the modern ones I've seen are what they call a vented chest seal. The difference with it, imagine this piece of paper being the seal. A non-vented seal, this whole thing is sticky. And when you stick it to the chest, it just seals up. A vented chest seal will have channels or a channel. Sometimes it'll be one, sometimes it's multiple. But it's a section where there's no adhesive on it. So that strip, imagine just a line down from the middle here, where they don't put any adhesive and it's just plastic. Well, when you stick that chest seal on, the whole thing is stuck except for that strip. And when you breathe in and there's suction, that pushes down against the chest and it will seal off completely. But if there's pressure coming out and pressure builds up underneath that seal, that little section will lift and the air will vent out. That's a vented chest seal. It's like a one-way valve. Lets air out, won't let air in. That's the best kind of seal to have. For AmCon Kentucky members, I have designed, and I'll say manufactured, although that's a stretch. Let me just say I assembled them. I've designed a chest seal. It's a vented chest seal. It's very effective. I would put it up against the commercial seals out there. I managed to make a number of these, about 30 some. So with our AmCon IFAC kits that we're trying to distribute to every member, each one will have a chest seal in it. I've got, like I said, 30 initially. I've got a line on some more material where I can make some more coming later this week. I'm hoping to make another 20 or 30 so we can distribute those and you can have a very effective vented chest seal in your IFAC kit. I'm not saying this, if you have an I hyphen, throw it away and use mine. Use your hyphen if you got it, that's fantastic. But if you don't have one, because hyphens, I think they use some in pairs, but you're talking 20 bucks. This was free. A lot of people, money's kind of tight. $20 can be a lot of money to somebody for a chest seal, something that they may never ever use, but you want to have on hand in case you need it. So I'm happy to donate these to AmCon Kentucky members. So my video today, I'm going to show you how to deal with chest wounds using our kit and using the chest seal that we include in your kit. I'm also going to show you how to improvise some kits or some chest seals. That's enough for my notes. They're not working anyways. So, my chest seal. It comes packed like this. It's got some gauze inside of it, folded up inside of it. This is called 4x4, just because it's 4 inches by 4 inches. It's just gauze. You can use this for anything. I packed it in here, and I'll say I've noticed that Hyphen does the same thing with their chest seals. They usually have them with gauze package. The reason why is when you come up to someone and they have a penetrating injury, if they've got blood, dirt, debris, whatever on the chest, you want to make this. You want to make sure you're making the best seal you can with this. That's what this is for. You use this and you clean off their chest. If it's really wet and you don't feel you can get it dry enough with this, you have a roll of Curlex in your kit. This one's half used because I've been demonstrating with it, but I don't want to open up a new one, but this is in your kit. You can pull this out. You don't even have to unroll it. Just use it like this and use this to clean the area. If you can't get it dry and it's wet, it's still going to work. I've tested this. I have soaked my arm under running water until it was soaked, stopped, shook it off, slapped on the chest seal, and it has adhered very well. If it doesn't stick completely, it's probably still going to be fine because it's actually just got to stay in place, because when you inhale, that suction is going to pull it down to seal it. If you can't get it completely dry, completely clean, don't worry about it. Put this chest seal on there anyway. I'm going to relate a story. I'll come back to that. This is what the chest seal looks like. This material is called Drape. We use this in wound vacs, which is a machine if people have a wound like a bed sore, we're trying to heal it. We'll put sterile foam in it and we'll cover it. If people have a wound like a bed sore, long term we're trying to heal and it doesn't have a lot of blood flowing to it, so it's hard to heal. We'll take the wound and pack it with foam, sterile foam, and you cover it with this material, and it's called Drape, wound vac Drape. And you cover it with this. It's very tough, durable material, and it seals up airtight against the skin. And then in the center, we attach a vacuum machine and it draws a vacuum, and it will suck any drainage and discharge away from the wound, and it will pull blood from the rest of your body to that area to speed healing. So this is made to be airtight and to stay in place for days at a time. It's very flexible and durable. It's really good stuff. So I've carried this for years in my kits to use as chest seals. Now this would be a non-venting chest seal because it is just a solid piece. I had the idea to add a channel to this. So you'll see these chest seals, they'll have a blue arrow. I cut them with scissors, so they're not a pretty arrowhead, it's a point. This is the channel, the venting channel. The ideal way to place this is to kind of have that arrow pointing towards the wound, and preferably be somewhat close to the wound. It doesn't have to be right up on it, but if you put it on and the wound is all the way over here, then if air builds up under this, it's not going to make it to the channel to vent. If anything, if it builds up enough, it's probably going to go out from under the edge and loosen up the dressing, in which case it's not the most effective. So the best way, if you can, if you've got the mindset about you with the adrenaline going and everything else, is to take Mike's advice and just breathe. And when you place this, try to aim this point towards the hole and get it, an inch or so away from it is fine, but that's the way this should be placed. I'm going to go into more detail how you actually operate the drape, but I'm going to tell a little story first, and I'm going to show you something. My wife and I were watching television the other day, and we watched a program called The First 48. I'm sure some of you have probably seen it. It's about crime scenes or investigating murders. There was a young man, he was on his front porch, and he was going into his house, and he was shot in the back, right about the lower part of the scapula, their chicken wing. Entry wound in the lungs, no exit wound. And he walked across the porch, went to the door, knocked, yelled at his girlfriend and said, "I've been shot." She opened the door. He walked in the door, collapsed. She called 911. We heard the 911 call. She said, they asked, "Is he breathing?" She said, "Yes, barely." And he's struggling. And so then, the police get there, and he's dead. He's laying on the floor. They show him, and his shirt is still down. He's got a little blood spot about that big around the bullet hole. No blood on the floor or anything. That's all the bleeding he did. Externally. Could have had some internal bleeding. But the point was, nobody did anything for him. If he had a chest seal applied, I think he probably would have survived. But he just laid there. Nobody even pulled up his shirt to look at the wound or anything. They just panicked and called 911 and stood there and watched him. I've seen watching that show, I've seen similar cases. I saw a young man one time shot in the thigh, and he was sitting out on his stoop, and he just sat there and died. People were all around. People were calling 911. They were screaming, "Hurry up and get here." Nobody attempted to dress that wound, and when they got there, there was just a river of blood running down the sidewalk away from this guy where he sat there and bled out. And if someone had packed that wound, or probably even just held direct pressure on that wound, he very well would have survived that. So these skills are important, and you're way ahead of the game by learning this stuff. So it doesn't take much to save a life sometimes. So these chest seals are very important. So that was my story. This is my little demonstration. This material that I make these out of, this drape, I took a strip of it this morning and put it on my wrist. And I've been wearing this around for about an hour. And you can see it's on my wrist. I've been preparing for this video, doing things. It flexes, it moves. I'm going to get a little closer to the camera so you can see. You can see this, it's shiny. This is where the drape is. It's like a second skin. It's really adhered well. It doesn't come off easily. I'm going to take it and some hair off. The things I'll do for you folks. Let's see. It's tough coming off. It's durable. See, it stretches. It's hard to tear. And it really sticks well. This is really good stuff. So it's going to work very effective as a chest seal for you. Okay. All right, let's begin. So this is our wounded person. Yes, it does have a man's head and it does have breasts. This is not a paramedic training doll. This is a nursing training doll, so it covers a lot of things: tracheas, colostomies, injection sites. I suspect in the past it may have been used as an Antifa sex education doll, so I'm glad that I was able to liberate it. Maybe it'll clear up some of the confusion over there on that side of the aisle there. But they have a bullet wound right there. And for the sake of this demonstration, let's say there's one. That's the entry wound. There's no exit wound. So when you come across them, the first thing you want to do is grab your kit and probably put on your gloves. A note about that, something that we've talked about amongst the medical staff that we wanted to stress. In the field, you're not going to worry about sterility. It's going to be dirty, dusty, bloody, nasty. Anytime you penetrate the skin, that person's going to need to be on a broad spectrum antibiotic. So we'll treat the infection later. Let's worry about saving the life first. The other thing is, I told you in the intro video, you need a pair of trauma shears. You have to get to this. You got to see what you're looking at. So you got to cut those clothes away and open them up so that you can get in there and see what you're doing. So once you've got it exposed and you see what you're looking at, you're going to take out your chest seal. And you're going to open it, and you've got some gauze. You're going to use that to clean the area around there. Clean it the best you can. Okay? Now, this gauze, just where you can see, this plastic, it's sandwiched in between two pieces of plastic. There's a blue strip, and you can see there's numbers. This side is number 1. This side is number 2. Number 1 is the sticky side. That's the one you're going to peel off. Don't worry about the number 2. You probably don't have to pull it off at all, but I'll show you that later. But you're going to pull off the number 1. And there's actually 2 pieces of plastic on this side. It's split in half. So it really doesn't matter which one you grab first. If you hold this by the blue edge, you can catch this here and pull it off. And this piece, you can grab it there at the number 1 and pull it off there. The reason it's split like this, it's really made where you pull off half of it and apply it and then pull the other half off and stick it down. For a chest seal like this, I prefer to just pull it off all at once. So holding the blue part, because that's not sticky, you're going to pull this off. Well, grab it here. It's kind of stuff to get started sometimes. There you go. I'm going to pull off this section, and then you can pull off the other one, or do it the other way around. You want to be careful about not letting this fold and stick on itself, because when it sticks to itself, it doesn't come loose. The chest seal's wasted at that point. You might as well grab another one. This is what it looks like. This is all very sticky. So when you handle it, you want to handle it by the edges, handle it on the blue portion. This is that channel, and you see that's not sticky. This is very sticky. So we're going to take this and apply it. You can grab it by the edges. It's going to stick to your fingers a little bit, but that's fine. You can pull them loose later. So we're going to take the seal, and we want to place it where the blue arrow is pointing towards the wound. And you just want to place it down there, and then you work it down. All over. You can see it'll curve around the breast. Doesn't matter. That's the chest seal. You've done. Now, okay, folks, I know it's going to look a little jumpy. I got a little more long-winded than I expected to. I was trying to keep these videos between 10 and 20 minutes. Man, was I off. But I know I get long-winded, but this is all good information. I want to cover it. Anyway, I finished the whole video, and my camera had stopped because I ran out of memory. Went back and looked at where it cut off, so I'm just going to pick up from there. So we had placed our chest seal at that point. So you saw how to do that. And you would use like a hyphen chest seal the same way. It's plastic. You peel the plastic off, you got sticky side, you slap it down. That's it. I want to talk about improvised stuff. So now let's say that we don't have a chest seal. Or let's say he was shot in the back and has an entry wound, exit wound. We put the chest seal on the back. Now we've got this on the front. I'm not going to flip this mannequin because it's kind of a pain sliding around on the table. So I'm still going to work on this side. But we could say this is a back injury and we're going to put an improvised chest seal. Remember, the goal is to seal the hole up. It really doesn't matter how. You just want something airtight. So what can you use? Well, this is an Israeli dressing. You could tear this package open, take this Israeli out, take the packaging material, put that down as a chest seal, and then wrap the dressing around to hold it in place. That can make an effective chest seal. We used to do something similar when I was in the Army. We didn't have Israeli bandages back then. We had a battle dressing, but it was the same kind of package, and it just wasn't elastic. But we were trained, we could use those as chest seals. When you peel the #1 plastic off of the chest seal, you could use that as a second chest seal. Or if you peel the #2 plastic off, you could use that as a chest seal. You could, I'm sorry, I put my stuff away. The ABD pad that comes in your pack, it comes with in a plastic package. You could place that over it. You wouldn't even have to take it out of the package. You could just take the plastic and put it over it and leave the whole ABD pad whole and wrap it. Another thing we were trained to do was, of course, a little different time back then, but if somebody was smoking, if you had a cigarette pack, you could take the cellophane off of the cigarette pack and use that as a chest seal. A glove can make an effective chest seal. Just something flexible like that to cover that wound and seal that hole up. Now the important thing is holding it in place. Now you could use your Curlex from your pack to wrap around the chest and hold it. I don't like that because you don't get that compression. I like the Coban. And yes, I'm going to use the pink camouflage. I know somebody was really hoping they were going to get this in their kit, and I'm sorry, I'm going to use it. Now, I said in my introductory video how much I like this stuff, and it gives a compression and it stays in place. So I would prefer to use this. Now this is a little awkward wrapping this mannequin without me knocking him off the table, but remember when I told you when you apply this that you want it to stretch so you have compression, but you don't want to stretch it all the way. That's really important with a chest wound because if you're wrapping this around his chest and he happens to be exhaling when you wrap it, when he goes to inhale and his lungs try to expand and inflate, you're going to have basically a tourniquet around him. That's going to make the breathing even more difficult. So if you recall how I said to use this before, you want about 50% stretch. And if you're unsure about that, when you're wrapping it, you can pull it all the way tight and then just back it off about halfway. And that's a pretty good estimate of how to do it. So I am going to snake this under this mannequin just to get it started so I don't knock it off the table. And then I'm going to start to wrap. So the way I would do this, as I said, you want about 50% stretch. You can stretch it all the way, bring it back, wrap it. It sticks to itself. Now you got that compression and it's going to hold it in place. I'd probably wrap it a few more times, but that right there is an effective chest seal. Now when I'm doing anything on the chest like this and I'm wrapping a bandage, what I don't want, basically this is like a tube top that was popular with the girls when I was younger. And when you're moving someone, picking, transport, and put them in an ambulance, it's easy for it to slip, slide down, and then uncover. So what I would do is I'd take another wrap around at least. And yes, I'm just going to pick him up by the neck. Don't do that. And my next wrap, I would bring up over the shoulder and wrap it back around again. And you can fasten it back down at the chest level. And then you've got this shoulder wrap and that's going to keep it from sliding down. And as you can see, you've got nice compression, but you've still got plenty of expansion room for those lungs to expand when they're breathing. So this co-band is invaluable if you're making an improvised chest seal. As far as the actual seal, whether it's a glove, a piece of plastic, the plastic bag that your IFAK came in, or anything plastic like that, and it doesn't really matter. The more important thing is if you can get some good compression on it like that to hold it in place, that can be an effective chest seal. So that's all I got today. God bless you all. Keep it up with AmCon, and keep coming back to AmCon Kentucky Medical. We're going to keep providing you with these videos. If you like this one, there's more coming.